Hello students and welcome to the lecture. So students, as we know that we are covering the financial knowledge, and basically what we are covering, we are covering the banking awareness part of it. Okay. Since last few lectures, basically we are discussing upon the very important topic which we called as insolvency and bankruptcy board of India, right? Insolvency and the bankruptcy board of India. This is a topic which we have been discussing since last few lectures. We have seen the some facts and figures related to this, like when we started this particular session or the series. Basically we had covered the introduction part, we had seen the background, we had seen the establishment, we had seen the objectives, the regulation, the insolvency professionals, the insolvency professional agencies. These are the topics we have completed fully. Then in the previous lecture, basically we had begun with the information utilities. Okay. And now the topics which we are left with are the topics of the advisory role, the collaboration, the CIRP, the educational awareness, and the summary part. Okay. So these are the details of this particular, you can say, the series which I have shared with you. Now, before begin this lecture, let me just revise the previous one in a very short manner. Like if we talk about the information utilities, okay, or you can say IU. So information utilities, as we had seen in the previous lecture, these are the entities, okay, which are registered with the IBBI, okay, and their prime aim is collect data, okay. All right, just write down the steps. I will written it down for you so that you could get it. First is validate the data. Second is, first is the collection of data. Collection of data. Second is validate the data. Third is storage data. Okay. Fourth is private and secured access of the data. Okay. So these are the, you can say, KRS or the key responsibility areas. Key responsibility areas of the what? IBBI. Collection of data, validate of data, storage data, private and the secured access of the data. Got it? Now the question is like how the information utilities and the other factors work for the IBBI. So let's start our discussion from where we had you can say left it in the previous lecture. Right now we have the authorized access. The information utilities grant the authorized users, which include the creditors, the insolvency professionals, and the other relevant parties involved in the insolvency process, access to the data. Access is provided in accordance with the provisions of the Insolvency and the Bankruptcy Code 2016 and the related regulations. All right, like we could say, if this is the particular XYZ, okay, this is the particular XYZ, and if we talk about the stakeholders like A, B, C, D, all right, and then the owner. Okay, so the data was as per this: 75, 10, 15, 50 and 50. The data was as it is. Okay, the value of the asset was 100 crores, 200 crores. Assets and the liabilities. Got it? So this is the data. So the IU, which is in charge of the data collection and the validation, will provide the secured access to the owners, to the stakeholders, as well as the insolvency professionals. Like, this is the data which they had collected and validated. Is this data is correct or not? If there are any changes, so the changes and the reason behind it should be communicated to the IU on the due time. Okay, after the time the things could not be done. All right, so access is provided as per the provisions of the Insolvency and the Bankruptcy Code 2016. Like, the IBC contains the proper steps which is to be followed while granting the access to the parties. Okay, so these access are to be followed while providing the access. Authorized users can retrieve necessary information to assess the debtor's financial position, creditworthiness, and the outstanding obligations. Now, this is the you can say the thing which is required to be you can say discuss. Okay, so when we are talking about the you can say the IBC. All right, I had told you one thing. Like, if there is any particular organization which we called as an XYZ, all right, and if the organization has reached the state where the assets are below the liabilities. So as I have told you, this is the state of insolvency. It means that right now the XYZ do not having enough resources so that they could discharge of their liabilities in a well manner. So what happens in such a situation? The XYZ will try to declare itself as an insolvent. Okay, so that the creditors A, B, C, D and E, all the creditors will be get notified that the XYZ is now not capable to do the business with them and to return their value which they had invested in its business. Okay, so what will happen? Once the company or the organization or an individual reach the state of insolvency, it means that the value of asset possessed by these persons are now lower than the liabilities which they having for the outsiders. Okay, so when the process of insolvency begin, thereafter the main goal is reaching the bankruptcy. It means that all the assets will be liquidated and the recovered amount will be distributed in the debtors and the creditors as per the provisions of the insolvency plan. And the insolvency plan is being made by whom? The insolvency professionals. Okay, the insolvency professional is the person who made the plan which we call as an insolvency plan. Now, why I am trying to portray this picture in front of you? Because if you remember the words which I had told you in the previous lecture, like, the insolvency professionals before initiate the process of insolvency and making the company as a bankrupt, it means liquidate all the assets which are present with the company and discharge the liabilities. Before going towards this side, they try to make sure the business of the XYZ will be restart. Okay. And how? First of all, remember I had told you, whenever the insolvency professional will take over the charge of the XYZ. Okay. Or you can say whenever the insolvency professional is appointed for the insolvency process, the first step is the charge of the asset and the liabilities and all the financial and the administrative operations has been transferred to the insolvency professionals from the hands of the XYZ management. Okay, so the insolvency professional will now try to optimize the resources and the asset up to the volume so that the business could be restart. Okay, it means that the company should not be shut down, because whenever a company is shut down, there is a loss of economy, there is a loss of employment. Okay, and even the creditors who had invested their money in that particular organization will get less amount in comparison with which we had covered, which they had invested. Okay, that's the reason. All right, so what will happen now? If we look at this picture, authorized users can retrieve necessary information to assess the debtor's financial position, credit worthiness, and the outstanding obligations. What does it mean? It means that the insolvency professional will prepare two plans, plans A and the plan B. Plan A is regarding the restart of the business, like how the business could be revived and how the business could be restart. Plan B is to liquidate the assets and discharge the liabilities. So first is the plan A will be presented towards the stakeholders or the creditors. Okay, like how the business could be restart, what are the possibilities, what are the SWOT analysis, strength, weakness, opportunity, and threats. Okay, so now what will happen? The creditors will decide that whether they have to go with plan A or not. For this, they required a financial position, credit worthiness, and the outstanding obligations of the debtor. Like what is the present scenario of the company. That's why they required a access, or you can say the authorized access, so that they could go through the asset present value and the liabilities value, and then they could make a informed decision. If the plan A passed, it means that company will not bankrupt, but the company will be you can say undergone some changes and will be restart its business from the beginning. But if the plan A is not passed, the creditors do not having a you can say faith in the company that whether the company could regrow its business or not. So the plan B will be activated, like how the assets of 100 crores will be liquidated so that the maximum optimized value up to 200 crores could be utilized. All right, so that's why it is necessary that the debtors financial health, credit worthiness, and the outstanding obligations should be provided to the stakeholders and the creditors. Okay, now thereafter, facilitating decision making. Thus, information maintained by IUs plays a pivotal role in evaluating the financial health of debtors and their creditworthiness. This information assists in making well-informed decisions during the insolvency resolution process. Like as I have told you, if the insolvency professional makes two plans, plan A and the plan B, and the plan A states that the how the business could be restart its operations. Okay, this is the thing. All right. Creditors rely on IU data to assess the extent of the debtor's indebtedness, the priority of their claims, and the potential for assets recovery. Like, like if there are two plans, plan A, plan B. Okay, plan A for the restart, plan B is for the liquidation. Okay, so all the plans which have been built by the insolvency professional. Both the plans which have been built by him, these plans are totally based on the data which has been provided by the IU, because the insolvency professional is rely on the data of the IU. Okay. Similarly, both the plans will be you can say supplemented by the data which has been provided by the IU, like the asset value 100 crores. Who collected the data? IU collection the data. Liabilities for 200 crores. Who collected the data? IU collected the data. Okay, so that's how the creditors are also rely on the data which has been collected by the IU. Okay, whether they have to go with the plan A, it means to restart the business, and whether they have to go with the plan B, it means that to liquidate the asset. All right, and that's how they make the decisions. Got it? Support for insolvency and the bankruptcy proceedings. EUs are integral to solvency and the insolvency and the bankruptcy proceedings by providing essential data that aids in the resolution process. This includes assessing the debtor's financial obligations, identify creditors' claim, and determining the order of asset distribution. Okay, like we know, in the insolvency and the bankruptcy proceedings, IU is very, very important. Why? Because these are the very, you can say, prime agency to collect the data. And why we trust them? Because they do not having any interest in the businesses of the debtors on the creditors. Their main task and the main interest is just only to collection of the data. Got it? So that's why their data is necessary, and that makes them the integral to the insolvency and the bankruptcy proceedings. Okay, because they provide the essential data which aids in the resolution process. But now the question is, debtors' financial obligations, creditors' claim identification, and the asset distribution. All of these things are very, very necessary. Why? Because these things are based on the data and the validation process. Remember, please remember that again and again, the data collection, validation, verification, these terms are on the repetition since the starting of the information utilities. So now you could assume it by yourself, or you could understand it by yourself, like why these terms are important. Got it? Information utilities contribute to transparency and the fairness in insolvency proceedings by ensuring that the stakeholders have access to the accurate and relevant information. Okay, so that they could make the informed decision. Data security and the privacy. It is very, very important. Information utilities are responsible for maintaining the security and the privacy of the data they store. They implement robust data security measures to protect sensitive financial and the credit-related information from the unauthorized access and the breaches. Why? It is very important that because they are collecting the data not only of the debtor's financial health. The data which has been collected is just not only based on this aspect, or the, you can say, creditor's claim, but it also includes some other stakeholders. Okay, why? Because remember, when I was telling you about the capital, I had told you about two capitals: primary and the secondary capital, right? So I had told you about it. Primary capital is the debt capital, which is primary capital is that capital which is on paper. It means that how much amount has been invested, who has been invested. This all the information is presented in the primary capital and published to the public, general people, or you can say anyone could access the information easily through the internet or whatever the sources he has. All right, it is a very, very basic information. But when it's come to the secondary capital, it is the capital which is hidden. Okay, this is only known to the person who has provided the money and to the person who has received the money. Between these two persons, no one has the access to get the information to that particular capital. For example, you could say Mr. A, Mr. B, Mr. C, Mr. D, and Mr. E. Okay, Mr. A has invested 75 crores. Mr. B has invested 10 crores. C has invested 15 crores. D has invested 50 crores. E has invested 50 crores. Okay. Thereafter, if we talk about the XYZ, then the XYZ by itself having the capital base of 100 crores, for example. Okay. So if we merge all of them, so it means total primary capital is, or you can say only primary capital, not total. Primary capital is 300 crores. How much? 300 crores. Got it? This is the first aspect. So this information is provided to the general public. Anyone could access the information from the people in general. Okay, but now the case of secondary information. In addition to the 75 crores, Mr. A has invested 50 crores. Mr. B has invested 15 crores. Mr. C has invested 20 crores. And these have invested 60 crores and 60 crores respectively. Okay, so if we add them, then what will be the amount? 120, 140, 170, 185. So rupees 185 crores are in the excess. Similarly, XYZ also infused 100 crores extra, okay, in the secondary form. So now if we merge them, then it means that 300 plus 285 will be the 585 crores. This is the total amount. Okay, how much amount is disclosed to the people? 300 crores. How much amount is in actual? 585 crores. So this information is recorded with the information utilities, right? Got it? And information utilities is required to ensure that this information is to be protected well enough. It means that the unauthorized access should be avoided and data breach should be protected. Got it? Now, if we talk about the secondary capital and the primary capital is basically invested for the working operations and other investment. Secondary capital is invested for the internal purposes, or you can say unforeseen circumstances. Okay, and remember when I was telling about the primary and secondary capital, I had mentioned the lines that the secondary capital are very you can say confidential in nature. Okay, the information about the secondary capital is not available to the general public, and it is just a matter of the company's internal management and the stakeholders who had invested that secondary capital. It means that besides XYZ, A, B, or you can say except XYZ, A, B, C, D, E, this information is not provided to anyone. Okay, but the information utilities will have the information. Okay, and when they will communicate the information to, you can say, to the insolvency professional, they will communicate both the information, the primary and the secondary. All right. The security and the privacy of the data are vital to maintaining the trust of the stakeholders and ensuring that the sensitive financial information remains confidential. Okay, because the company is having their own terms with their stakeholders and with the person who had invested their money with them. Got it? So it is to be very necessary that the sensitive financial information remains confidential. Okay, because if they have been hidden or if they have been hidden from the general public, there must be some reason. Got it? Now, the advisory role, let's begin with it. The Insolvency and the Bankruptcy Board of India has an important advisory role in addition to its regulatory functions. Okay, like we had seen, the IBBI is basically the body which register and license the whom license the insolvency professionals, right? We had seen it, and we had also seen the insolvency professionals are the person who carry out the insolvency and the bankruptcy operations on ground, right? That's the things we had seen. So ultimately, if the organization is registering and licensing them, it means that, and these people are carry out the insolvency and the bankruptcy process. It means that the IBBI is a regulatory authority. Okay, that's what we had discussed, and also we had seen that it is a regulatory authority. Okay, but now what we are seeing the advisory role. It means that the prime role of the IBBI is just not only to regulate the insolvency professional, the insolvency professional agencies, the information utilities, the insolvency and the bankruptcy activities, but also advisory role. It means that it is required to assist the information and gives the advices to the various stakeholders which having their interest in the insolvency and the bankruptcy grounds. The advisory role involves providing guidance and the recommendations to the Indian government on matters related to the insolvency and the bankruptcy law and suggesting ways to enhance and strengthen the insolvency ecosystem in the country. Like, remember I had told you that there are the one term which we call as a ease of doing business. Okay, ease of doing business. Any country and any successful economy of this world, all of them are trying to improve their ranks in the terms of ease of doing business. It means that to create the environment relatively very easy and effective in comparison with the other competitors, so that the businesses could find themselves as a more you can say more freedom and more effectively working. All right, so ease of doing business is basically you can say depend on two things: easy entry of the firm, okay, and easy exit of the firm. Okay, it means that easy entry means so the business could be started easily, licensing, registering, formalities could be done easily. Easy exit means if the company is facing loss, it is not required that the company should face the loss till the eternal. Okay, it means that if the company is facing loss, the assets are lower than the liabilities, the company could shut down their businesses, could declare itself insolvent, could initiate the process of the bankrupt, and could discharge the duties and take itself off from the market. Okay, so this is the ease of doing business. All right, and for this we have to ensure the insolvency and the bankruptcy environment, or you can say scenarios. Okay, because the companies which are doing the business in India, if they want to shut down, Like on what grounds they could declare themselves as an insolvent, on what grounds they could declare themselves as a bankrupt, what are the steps which is to be followed, what should be the government role, what should be the rules and the guidelines. So all of these things comes under the advisory role term. This all depends on the IBBI advice which is provided to the government. So that's how the IBBI plays a advisory role. Right now we have just seen the overview of the advisory role. In the next lecture we will continue with it. Okay, till then just revise all the facts and figures we have discussed in this lecture and be ready for the another lecture. With this note, let's end this lecture, and what we say thank you.